Morning, Zion Church. Remember me? Yeah, so I'm Kelly Horne, the chaplain with the Australian Army. And do you remember what we spoke about at our Anzac service? The theme was simply, lest we forget. And in the busyness of life, it's so very, very easy for us to forget even the most simplest things. So just a quick recap on what we spoke about. Remember his calling. Paul says to the Thessalonians in chapter 3, he says, faithful is he who calls you, who also will do it. If God's called you, then you can trust him because he is faithful. And sometimes we forget what God has already done. But God calls us to remember his calling, to remember what he's done. And in remembering those things, that will then help you to get through whatever it is you're navigating today. So remember his callings because he is faithful and he will do it. Remember his commands. I joked about not really understanding commands until I joined the army. It's not a case of you can pick and choose what commands you obey. If someone says it, then you do it. And that's the same with God. If God says it, you do it. It's not the 10 pretty good ideas. It was the 10 commandments. So let's be people who study his word and know what's in it and then do what he's asked us to do. Follow his commands. And then thirdly, it's remember his covenant promises. And by following his commands, we actually can possess the covenant promises. The word of God is so wonderful in that it says from 1,000 generations, his blessings will go through 1,000 generations. So let's be people who study his word and possess all of the promises that are unshakable and unbreakable. And then the fourth point was simply that we need to remember his character. God is love. God is faithful. God is goodness. God is kind. And because God is all of these things, that's what we ought to be aiming for as well. It's easy to forget to say thank you, especially to those in your household. It's easy to forget to say sorry or to choose not to say sorry. It's easy to honour people when they're dead, but do we honour them when they're alive? Let's look at the characteristics of God and his character, remember those traits, and then incorporate them into our everyday life and be people who truly want to be like Jesus. Anzac Day is all about remembering those who've sacrificed, remembering those who've lost their lives. Let's be people who remember to honour. Let's be people who remember to be kind and who remember to love as Jesus loved. Have a fabulous week.